If you've played the first Wario Land, you know it still plays a lot like a Mario game, but in Wario Land 2, Nintendo threw that away, and that change made Wario Land its own series. So, how is it different? In the previous game, getting hit would punish the player by taking away their power-up, or losing a life. In Wario Land 2, Wario is basically immortal. You will never encounter a game over screen in this game. Getting hit by an enemy just knocks Wario back. This means that you will not get booted out of the level, making the gameplay more continuous. But that did require the challenge to be shifted. So you might ask yourself, if Wario cannot die, then what exactly is the challenge? What is stopping you from just brute forcing your way through all the enemies and obstacles? You might even expect the game to be easy or boring. But quite honestly, it's far from that, and that is exactly what I want to cover in this video. So what is Wario doing here? In the first game, he got himself a castle, and now we start off with him just sleeping. 3 dark characters appear, and they are here to steal Wario's treasure. They also proceed to mess around in the castle a bit, causing water damage to his property. Additionally, they throw this large living alarm clock on the floor. And I never understood why. If they're trying to be secretive about stuff, I don't think that something that does this helps them in any way. Wouldn't the loud noise wake Wario up? Eventually it does, and now you gotta go figure out what's up with all the noise by just pressing the buttons so you can get Wario out of bed and move him around in his bedroom. Here you can experiment with some of the controls. Wario can jump with A, use his signature shoulder tackle with B, and also ground pound to break stuff. You can see coins behind the wall, which is also breakable, cluing you into the fact that stuff can be hidden in the walls. Wario feels heavier than he did in Wario Land 1. Turning left and right is slower as he physically turns around. Crouch walking is back, performing a shoulder tackle, then ducking makes him slide through tight spaces, and ground pounds and shoulder tackles are the main attacks. Enemies can be picked up and thrown around, just like in Wario Land 1. Holding B now charges your throw, allowing you to throw them much further. If you do this, Wario makes a face as if he absolutely wants to destroy the enemy he's holding, which is exactly what happens if they hit a wall, breaking them in the process. Ground pounding enemies also breaks them with a very satisfying cracking sound. The sound effects and animations make you want to destroy everything, but if you start impulsively doing this, you can actually mess things up a bit. Breaking the wrong things too early can ruin your chance to climb higher or reach certain areas. Sometimes breakable walls are needed to do some platforming, so if you rush in there destroying everything, you're not going to be able to get there. Punishments are knockbacks if hit by an enemy, which can be a bigger annoyance if it knocks you off a platform. Enemies and obstacles are placed in spots where they do exactly that. Try to stall your progress. If you push hard to get through something, it will push hard back. This is not a speed-through platformer, so if you play it like one, the game will fight you. All of these show that the game is meant to be played slower, and if you play the game that way, it usually rewards you for it. So, because of the shift in challenge, enemies now play a bigger role in the game. You got your regular returning enemies, like the Pirate Gooms, and the Dangerous Duck, along with a new cast of members from the Black Sugar Gang. The enemies are also a lot more expressive, and now also make silly faces if you bump into them. Most of them are harmless and easy to deal with, but some of them are kind of annoying, like these guys that go absolutely crazy when you bump into them, slowing your progress. But the most annoying enemy award goes to this one. As soon as it spots you, it starts endlessly shooting sparks at you, which can knock you back. Call it a skill issue, but for some reason I always get hit by them. Because Wario is immortal, they did away with the power-ups, and instead just have him change his physical state, which in this case is a bit of a double-edged sword, as some are required for progression, but in other cases they can do the exact opposite. Some of these are very annoying, specifically designed to prevent you from progressing, such as with the ice skating Wario, where you get frozen and it slides you all the way back down. Others are needed to get through some areas, like Fat Wario, caused by these guys that force-feed Wario to make him fat. When Wario is chunky, he can break a special type of blocks. Wario can also be set on fire by these fire foxes, after which he will start panicking and running back and forth. You can still jump when he runs around, making the challenge in this case the fact that you have to time it so that Wario gets engulfed by flames just before hitting these blocks, so you can break them, all the while trying to avoid pits of water in the process. Some of these are used in very creative ways too, like Zombie Wario. Zombie Wario can destroy enemies without taking a hit himself, and he can fall through thin platforms to reach secret areas. The downside is that he moves a lot slower and cannot jump. And they later flipped the usage of falling through platforms to a situation where you don't want to do this. Like here, where you need to carefully maneuver through a bunch of thin platforms, making sure that you don't get hit by the patrolling ghosts. Because if you do, they will turn you into a zombie, and when you fall, you phase through the platforms. So you gotta go backtrack and try again. Touching water or getting hit by some enemies cures most of these effects, turning Wario back to normal. It is awesome to see how they applied the use of these enemies in Wario Land 2, as they are used for much more than just projectiles. They can be used to break a special type of blocks, or even as a trampoline to reach hard-to-reach areas. This opens up a whole new way to approach enemies, where they are not just obstacles, but can also be used as tools to progress in the level or to reach secret areas. Some walls also don't look like they are breakable, making it less obvious that you can get through, which allowed them to hide stuff there for you to find. Additionally, the game also offers a wide variety of level gimmicks. Examples of these include owl sections where you grab onto their talons, as you have to navigate through spiky mazes. If you touch the spikes or get hit by an enemy, you will fall down and you will have to retry. You also got these areas with pitch black rooms that contain hidden platforms and doors. If you flip a switch in one room, it turns the light on and makes them visible, but it makes a room that was previously light, dark. Other rooms have blocks that move into a different position if a switch is flipped, opening the way to one area while closing another. And this touches on the core aspect of what makes Wario Land 2 so much fun. They took the concept of what if Wario just can't die, which in turn allowed them to structure a whole bunch of new mechanics around that idea, with a few puzzle aspects to tickle your brain some. And can I just say that for a Game Boy game, Wario Land 2 is one of the best looking games I've seen. The sprite art and backgrounds are incredibly detailed, even on its original monochrome version. That's right, the game was originally a regular Game Boy game, but most only know the Game Boy Color version. Compared to Wario Land 1, it's also a lot more polished. Wario has a clearer design, and so do the enemies. I grew up with the original, and played through both versions to see if I could spot any differences between the two. Both games play the same, but there are some slight differences in appearance, aside from the obvious being the color. In the monochrome version, they surrounded him with an additional outline or glow to make him pop out of the background more. One thing that is very noticeable though, is that the Game Boy Color version performs much better when a lot is happening on screen, which is to be expected with the upgrade in cartridge type. Another thing I noticed is that the windows in specific levels are missing the top arch part, which was there in the original Game Boy version. The Color version, however, does do a lot more to make the world feel alive, even adding day-night differences in some levels. With the added color, they were able to make the levels look like they take place during nighttime, while in the original, this was not necessarily the case. The sequel took that idea even further, which we will probably talk about when we get to Wario Land 3. Something you don't get in this game compared to its predecessors is an overworld, as the game goes level to level. World building is done through the design of the levels and silly cutscenes between chapters. You can see Wario travel all over the world, chasing after pirates through a forest, on their boat, and he eventually takes a train to the city. Which is a cool change of pace, as I've seen enough forests and caves in the past two games. It is also silly to imagine Wario just casually entering people's homes through their windows, and then moving or breaking their furniture. As you get closer to Syrup's castle, the time switches from daytime to dusk, which makes it feel like time is actually passing. It is subtle, but it adds to how the game does visual storytelling, and again, I want to stress how cool it is for a Game Boy title to do this. Something else you can do in this game that I never really hear anyone else talk about is play the game on Super Game Boy for your Super Nintendo. If you do this, you will get level-specific borders and slight color enhancements. And I say slight because it's nothing to write home about. The borders are cool though, I like those. Most platformers function in a way that you just need to beat the level and be done with it. But this is a Wario game, and for completionists among us, there's treasures to be collected, just like Wario Land 1. Throughout the game, Wario can find treasure doors which feature a minigame where you need to match the picture on a treasure chest with one of the 8 cards depicting some enemies in the game. Depending on the difficulty, they will be shown briefly. Hard being really fast but cheaper, easy showing the cards longer but costing a lot more coins. The treasures in question are a variety of items or things you might have seen in prior Nintendo games, which I feel is a nice touch. Treasures such as bananas, a Metroid, a helmet with horns from the previous Wario game, an ocarina, a Yoshi egg, and the list goes on. The game does two things. It shifts so that some coins are hidden, encouraging exploration, but it also added 2 new coin types. The large coins with Wario heads on them are worth 10 coins, and you have a small chance of getting a special coin, which is worth 100 coins, when breaking a wall or destroying enemies, which hooks back into that it's fun to destroy things feeling the game is going for. This makes it a lot easier to collect coins, and because of this, I wasn't collecting them because it told me to do so, but I did it more because it's just fun to break stuff and explore. At the end of a level, the collected coins can also be used to play another minigame, which is a number guessing game. It will slowly display a number, each tile costing about 50 coins to flip. If you guess correctly, you will get a piece of a treasure map. So, knowing they exist, why should you care about collecting coins and playing these minigames then? Well, that's something I will get back to in a little bit. The game still has level exit doors, just like the previous Game Boy games had, but it is not always the same however, as in some levels certain conditions need to be met in order to get to the door. Sometimes, instead of finding the exit door, you need to defeat an enemy, like in this level where you have to locate 4 ducks. There's nothing special about them other than the color. I just really like the design. In other cases, you need to defeat a giant version of the pirate goom, in this case referred to as a giant spearman, and I personally really like dealing with these guys. Despite its size, you can lift them up and throw them around, which as a kid I liked doing because it felt like I was breaking the rules. Or the train levels, where you move all the way to the front of the train and have to stop it, which is probably a crime in most countries. And I like that they made it so that in order to end the levels, you need to do different things. So the game has interesting enemies, great sprite art, and cool new mechanics, but what about the music? Well, it's really good. Kazuo Ishikawa took the main theme of Wario Land 1 and ran with it, incorporating that leitmotif in the majority of the songs heard in this game, while also retaining that iconic Wario sounding instrument set the first game did so well. Many of the tracks use at least some part of the original Wario theme, and it really makes it stick. Some of these tracks are absolute earworms, and like with its predecessor, they pop up randomly in my head sometimes. They're super memorable. I just wish that they used the Wario Land themes in Smash Bros. Instead, they just settled on WarioWare, which are not bad per se, but I just prefer Wario Land music. But yeah, I'm getting off track here. So, let's talk about the bosses for a bit. The last level in each chapter has a boss you need to defeat, and Wario Land 2 continue with that same idea the first game had, where it requires some trial and error to defeat them. You might once again wonder what the challenge would be since Wario cannot die in this game. The bosses do attack Wario, and since they can't kill him, all they can do is inconvenience him, by throwing you off the boss platform or up out of the boss arena. You will then have to backtrack to the boss room and try again. In most cases, it's a one hit and then you gotta retry. It is also not always a 3 hit per boss kind of deal, most of them require multiple hits to be defeated. I remember them being difficult as a kid, but nevertheless fun to beat. One of my favorite boss fights is the rabbit basketballer boss, as it takes the boss fight idea and turns it into its own gimmick. In this particular fight, you need to jump on its head and turn it into a ball. Then, pick him up and dunk him into a basket hoop. It keeps score, and you just need to do this 3 times in order to win. But the rabbit can do the same thing. If it jumps on your head, you will turn into a ball, and you will be booted out of the boss arena if he scores 3 times. And he does not play fair, as he will throw basketballs against Wario to stun him, opening him up to getting jumped on. Also, wait a minute, where have I seen you before? Is this how they were made? Anyways, after defeating the bunny boss and leaving the city behind, Wario tracks down Syrup's castle, which I guess they rebuilt. In Wario Land 1, the castle gets broken bit by bit, and I feel like they did a small reference to that with this one. As you can see, some of the support beams and walls look like reclaimed rubble, which in Wario Land 2 you are now able to break once again. There's even a level where the whole gimmick is to break the walls to find the level exit door. Eventually you reach the boss room and... alright, it's time to confront her once again and take back those treasures. This time she's operating some kind of vehicle while these flames shoot out from under you. And as a kid, this might have been the first time that I got really sweaty gamer hands, as I was secretly playing deep into the night trying to beat this game for the first time. You gotta pick up the enemies that she drops, then throw them against the machine she is using. Eventually the machine closes up, after which you need to use the bombs that she throws at you to make the fire shoot up and hit her. It might take a few tries, as she will be launched up out of the arena if the fire gets to you. But if you eventually defeat her, the castle gets completely destroyed once again, and Wario finally got his stolen treasure back. While the credits roll, we can watch Wario run all the way back home, well, holding his treasure bags up like that. I wonder how heavy those are. After beating the game the first time, you find out that there's in fact multiple levels that you haven't seen yet. Before you beat it one time, the game might seem a little bit short. It does not tell you that there are alternative paths before you get to see the map screen. As a kid, I thought that was all that there was to this game. You play through it once, and then you're done. And during my first playthrough of the game, I thought that the first boss was too difficult. When you get launched out of the boss arena, you get to this room, where, if you pay close attention, you might see this wall up here. If you break this wall, and then follow it all the way down, you will find an alternate exit, bypassing the boss and leading Wario into a different route in the story. So it's possible that you might find these accidentally during your playthrough. I can think of one more, which I remember stumbling into accidentally. Instead of waking Wario up at the start of the game, if you let Wario sleep longer, you beat the level. And you can even see Wario sleep on the results screen here. After which, the intruders throw him out of the castle and just take it over, spawning an alternative route and ending. And thus, words cannot describe how cool this was for little Zenter back when he played the game. Now that you unlock the map screen, it allows you to travel back to previous levels. So you get to play through the alternate routes and story paths you might have missed, each ending with their own final boss, rewarding you with additional cutscenes when you beat them. So this game offers incredible replayability. And remember when I talked about those minigames? You now get an opportunity to try and collect any of them that you may have missed. And I promised I'd tell you why you want to go ahead and collect all of these. But there is a spoiler involved, so be warned. If you go ahead and collect all the treasures, complete the picture panel and defeat all the bosses at the end of each story route, you unlock 2 new things. One of them is another minigame with a dangerous duck. It's basically a reskin of Flagman, which was also featured in Game & Watch Gallery. But the other one is a complete new level. And the game even tells you that now it's time to get the Syrup treasure. The level in this case is the really final chapter. The completed picture panel shows Wario where the location of the secret stash is, and he of course wants to go get it. So Wario tracks down a secret entrance and what do we get? A spooky cave where there's enemies absorbed into the wall, not to mention the eyes and ears. Maybe Syrup did this to them as a punishment? I'm not sure what to make of this. It's an overall weird level. Kinda makes you feel like this place is dangerous and you're not supposed to be here. It also felt like I was constantly being watched. I mean, well, I kinda was, considering the eyes in the walls. But yeah, I digress. You are probably also wondering what the actual challenge is, and, well, it's very platforming heavy. It is taking a bunch of concepts you've seen throughout the game, making them a lot harder. It is also technically a time attack mode, but you don't get anything for beating it super fast. A few examples of things you've seen throughout the game, but harder in this case, are platforming over the water that has a strong current, while having these annoying ass spiky skulls flying about to knock you into the water, very tight vertical platforming sections, and bouncing on enemies to bridge to the other side of a platform. I can say that I do like how it attempts to put stuff you've learned to deal with while playing the game to the ultimate test here. And you would expect that with a level like this, there will be a true final boss, or maybe Syrup will swoop in and you will have to do a final fight of some sorts. Especially with the music ramping up like that. But all of this leads up to another giant spearman. Yeah, you can just deal with him how you normally would, with the added need to bounce off of it so it doesn't fall. And there you go. Bit anticlimactic, but I will take it, I guess. So what happens next? Well, Wario ends up taking Syrup's treasure and once again runs all the way back home while holding it up, all the while being stalked by that giant spearman from earlier. We don't really get to see the conclusion of this, so I just want to assume he's here to take the treasure back. That all being said, who is this game actually for? Well, I think anyone who likes Nintendo platformers will get a lot of enjoyment out of this game. Because of Wario's immortality, it's relatively low stakes, the only limiting factor being your ability to get through challenging platforming sections or boss fights. But it is not your typical platformer. It deviated from a typical Mario game and is very clearly its own thing. So, if you enjoy little puzzle-based challenges, gathering collectibles, and looking for secret endings, this Game Boy title is one you should pick up. It is the first Wario game I played, forever solidifying in my head what a Wario game should look like. And I'm excited to talk about its sequel, which built on a lot seen in this game, so stick around if you want to see that one. If you want to know how the series started, however, you should watch my video on Wario Land 1, or Wario Land 2. Either way, thank you so much for watching this far into the video. Last year I was blown away by all the stories and positive comments under my previous 2 videos, so do let me know what your experience was with this game, as I read everything and try my best to respond to as many of you as I can. My name is Zenter, and I'm gonna go do the dishes now. See you next time!